Well, good afternoon, everybody. Welcome back to the International GT Open. Our 2026 season now starts to urge into the halfway stage, and we have got a fascinating race now that awaits us here this afternoon. We arrive back at Budapest. The sun is scorching, as is the track, and the drivers, fueled with immense passion, chasing some serious points in a quest for their own championship titles. However, so far this season, it's typical GT Open, really. 4 different pole sitters in 6 races, and prior to that, 4 different race winners in 5 races. Astonishing. The grandstands are packed with many passionate fans. Frequently we come here and have done since the year 2012, when Miguel Ramos and Rafael Maria for V8 Racing took the first ever victory here in this series at this very location, and it has become pride and place on the International GT Open calendar. The big question is, after 70 minutes of racing, who's going to take this one? Coming back after 12 months ago, Elite Racing Ferrari, remember, taking their first ever win in the championship and in a GT3 altogether. And we now have a... But before we get into the nitty-gritty, let's take a look at the highlights from Misano. Last time out, it was a very busy start, and again, Elite Racing Ferrari were on the move. A little bit contact further back. Of course, Christian Mansell, Maxi Goetz in the heat of battle, making contact with SVC Lamborghini. Elsewhere, of course, we witnessed the return of Anthony Bartone, who alongside Fabian Schiller was looking for a big result. But these were the stars of the show. Elite Racing Ferrari back again with Tom Emson and Tom Leben, and they took the checkered flag for the first race of the weekend to mark their first win of the season. We then got underway for race 2, an unsanctimonious spin for a Ferrari in the background, and the Santalok Audi very nearly coasting off as well after running into the grass. It was wheel-to-wheel, though, further up, as once again Elite Racing were on the move. We run on board here with Scuderia Villorba Corsa, who were trying to dodge traffic right in front. Hernandez was also one of the back markers that was trying to be swapped around by some of the front runners that were fighting over lead supremacy. Some wheel-to-wheel also with the ZRS Porsche, with Pietro Armani behind the wheel, trying to get past the Blau Motorsport Ferrari by equal measure. But Elite Racing were back on song and on form, taking a back-to-back win, the first team to do it so far this campaign. So this is how the championship now looks. 16 points between the top 2 in the championship. Tomlinson and Tom Leben for Elite, ahead of Christian Mansell and Maxi Goetz. Still a long way to go, though. And join us back on the grid at the same time. This is our P1 sitter, Alexander Fack. George Morgan, by the way, in the commentary box alongside me, Chris Stevens. And it was quite a dramatic qualifying this morning, Chris, with Fack Autotech taking top spot.
It certainly was indeed. The team in their first season of GT Open competition, not only taking the Pro-Am honours, but the overall honours as well. Now remember, that car's going to have a bronze driver in the car in the second part of the race and take 20 seconds of handicap, so expected to fall down the order. This surely has got to be a top contender for the victory. The ZRS Porsche of Alex Fontana, who believes there was more on the table for him in qualifying. His best lap was compromised by a back marker, and so he feels like he had the pace to be on pole position. But he's still in a very strong position on the second row of the grid, alongside Dean McDonald, our Portimao winners, but they are also going into this race with a bit of a handicap. And so is Max Goetz and Christian Mansell, the green and black Team Motorpark Mercedes. 5 seconds for them to take, but they're in a good spot still.
Yes, still very strong. Like I said, 16 points between the top 2 in the championship. There's Jim Pla, who has a bold junior single-seater history, of course, racing against much of the current Formula One grid. Of course, now with us here in the International GT Open once again, with Santalok Audi looking ever so strong. Vincent Abril, who was actually fastest in free practice 1 coming into the weekend, alongside Laurent de Meus. Another potential for Pro-Am success this weekend. Obviously, Laurent has had his trials and tribulations after a crash back at Spa earlier on in the season. Christian Korzanowski, once again showing his incredible speed in AM class. Definitely a very racy bronze driver, and will be starting from 8th on the grid, will the pole, and in a bid to landing perhaps a grand race for both he and, of course, Jedlinski. We also have Libor Milotta, who I must say that he was absolutely tremendous in qualifying earlier on today, showing some really strong pace, and I must say ISR ever improving year on year.
Additional car from AF Corsa here this weekend as well, the 107 machine. Marco Bononomi starting that car that he shares with Ray Acosta. But 70 minutes of racing to come, and these Michelin tyres are going to really be put through their test on a track that is, as near as makes no difference, George, 50 degrees Celsius out there. The circuit has been absolutely baked in the sun all day long, as indeed have the fans that have come out in their droves to the Hungaroring, as they always do. The pit lane absolutely packed for the pit walk and the autograph session earlier on today. We've got a classic car show on the other side of the circuit as well, with a live band that's been entertaining the fans throughout the course of the day.
Yeah, obviously we're at one of the highest DEG circuits on the calendar. Ask any driver in the paddock, whether single-seater or GT3. It is very much the same across the board as we now take a look across the order that will be charging down through towards turn one. Now, folks, of course, we all came to know about the tragedy back at the end of June. That was the earthquake in Venezuela. And in honor, of course, and in remembrance of the many victims that perished in that natural incident, we are going to be observing a minute of silence, and followed then by the Venezuelan national anthem. So we invite you all to join us in that. Alessandro Famolaro, of course, racer in the Euro Formula, will be standing as well. Very emotional scenes, obviously, for Alessandro Famolaro, a very well-respected and supported driver in his home nation of Venezuela. And as a key figure, of course, in the Euro Formula Open Championship this season, it's ever so important to, of course, raise awareness to those that, of course, are party to the Venezuelan nation. And we, of course, do wish every single one of them the very best. And thoughts and prayers are with them all. But nevertheless, of course, hopefully brighter skies will be upon us and we can enjoy some fantastic racing action this afternoon in their memory at the same time. And Alessandro Famolaro, I must say as well, Chris, shining light, of course, this season after taking a victory back at Portimao as well. He really does carry the hearts of a nation on in his chest.
Certainly does. Euro Formula race to come after this one.
So it's nearly time to get underway for the race here. We're now at the halfway point pretty much in this season. The 2026 campaign, the fans now in the grandstands ensuring that they have their seats underneath them for this one. It's going to be a corker. We're going to take you through the starting grid from top to bottom. Alexander Fack, what a performance in qualifying first thing this morning for Fack Auto Tech. They continue their great form in front of Elite Racing's Tom Leben. Second row, ZRS Alex Fontara alongside Dean McDonald, the Flying Scotsman for Greystone GT on the second row. We then head down to P5, Maxi Gertz for Team Motor Park, chasing only a second win this season. Then we have Santalot Racing for Jim Pla in sixth place on the third row. Vincent Abril, after going fastest in FP1, starts seventh in Pro-Am, with Christian Kozanowski in AM class in P8. We then have Team ISR, Libor Milotta, lining up alongside Marco Bononomi in their first start this season. For AF Corsa, Rodrigo Testa in 11th place. For SVC, Lamborghini, and Kobe Pavels alongside Charles Bateman in the Blackthorn Aston joins him too. Hubert Darmetko for PTT BMW lines up alongside Yaroslav Visalaho in 14th place for AF Corsa. Ukrainian is ahead of Adrian Lewandowski, who is showing immense pace so far through the practice course of this weekend. Tomasz Magdziarz also alongside him in the Good Speed racing car. John Monegro Reyes, your AM Championship leader, lines up alongside Marcelo Ramirez in 18th for Motor Park. And we move down to 19th, where Suin Mazur disputes with Rafael Duran, who came off the back of a class win in the Spa 24-hour. We then head down through to 21st. Marcin Jedlinski will, of course, be handing over to Carol Bash. The ever-prosaic Pole will be next to Dexter Muller as part of car barn by SPS in the Mercedes. Marcello Hahn, whose son is racing in the Euroformula Open this weekend, much like his brother did. 24th for track focus Darren Kell. Antal Zygo lines up in 25th for Gamotta Racing BMW, lining up alongside Alfredo Hernandez from Grupo Prom Racing Team in 26th. That's the last of the cars that are lining up ahead of this race. So now the imperative mission is to ensure the tyres are up to the necessary temperature. That won't necessarily be hard to do on a surface such as this, but nevertheless a necessity if you want to get a good start. Alexander Fack, the question is, he did it in quali trim, Chris. Can he do it in race trim?
That Porsche's been very quick all weekend. I think it's going to be more about the pit sequence, George, and coming down to switching over to your bronze driver at the right time for those Pro-Am runners. But for the guys up at the front of the field, also having to serve their handicaps as well, because we've got some heavily handicapped cars right at the front of the field. Both those cars at the head of the grid are taking 20 seconds when it comes to the pit stop sequence. That'll open about 28 minutes into the race, so I'll open up the door for the cars behind. So it's about survival. They call this Monaco without the walls, but that doesn't mean the walls are actually that far away. We have seen some shunts here in the past, so you've got to keep it clean.
Doesn't matter when or where, overtakes can happen around the circuit. Just ask Maximilian Paul from a few years ago for Team Oregon Lamborghini. What a moment that was. And remember, we've had Pro-Am success in the past as well. If you look at Team GT, Florian Scholzer, for example, alongside Alan Valente, who went on to do the unthinkable back in 2022. Well, let's see if we can create some more drama for you folks. Thank you for tuning in wherever you are in the world. Racing's about to get underway. Alexander Fack, Tom Leben. It is Fack Auto Tech as well as Elite Racing Ferrari. They are side by side. Porsche v Ferrari. Looks like Leben very keen to get going. What on earth? As now the lights go green, it's pedal to the metal, and it's go, 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 go. Well, a very early start by Tom Leben. Alexander Fack perhaps a little slow away. I'm not quite sure how the stewards are going to look at that. As ZRS Porsche now makes a charge, tries to take on its fellow manufacturer. Up the inside it goes, and Fontana managing to capitalise instantaneously, and Alexander Fack in free fall as now Maxi Gertz hops onto the bandwagon and moves up into third place. Chris, a big moment there.
Bononomi going wide into turn two, as are a couple others, but there was contact there between the Pro-Am leaders, Fack and Jim Pla, banging wheels at the first corner. Did Fack have some sort of problem on his car running up towards the lights? Because Tom Lebon went very, very early compared to the rest of the field.
I can already tell you that the start is under investigation. No
Shocker.
Surprises. I was going to say, no surprises there whatsoever. Tom Leben obviously getting the leap of his life. I think it must have confused a little bit. If there was a problem with Alexander Fack, that may have confused the rest of the grid, believing they had to slow up as well.
Well, they can't overtake.
Yeah.
So they would have just assumed that Fack was going slowly there. So they've all done the right thing in slowing up there. And Leben, as the car alongside him, is just following his own start procedure. It's getting very tight in the middle sector there with Suin Mazur in the Sendent Racing Lamborghini. You can see a little bit of trim hanging off of the back of Maxi Gertz's car as Dean McDonald looks to make a move. He's fallen down to 7th place in all of that kerfuffling at the start. He's now back up into 6th place as he goes down the inside of Jim Pla's Audi. Yeah,
lovely move there for Dean McDonald, who's of course on the move, and now into 6th place. We've got Leben, though, still leading, who's been handed the gift of a lifetime, really, from Alexander Fack, given the free clairvoyance to carry on, but of course he's not going to be left on his own because Fontana is ever so venomous behind the wheel of a Porsche. We know that all too well. Just look back at Portimao. They were of course our first race winners this season in the championship. We've got Gertz further back now being hunted down by Fack, who has seemingly recovered, and then further back Vincent Abril, who got a very nice steady start at the same time. Remember, representing in Pro-Am class, he'd have no qualms of making big moves as Scuderia Villorba Corsa now look to get on the attack now, side by side with a Fack Auto Tech machine. I think that might be Monegro Reyes right in the heat of battle there, disputing over that P15. Rodrigo Testa hunting him down. He's not got the opportune line, but he may switch back. I don't know how on earth he hasn't managed to capitalise on this, but for somehow, some way, Monegro Reyes holds position.
Alexander Schwarzer in the Fack Auto Tech garage looking about as confused as we are as to the problems of his car. We see the Lamborghini there really struggling in 15th place, George. That car's just really been lacking a lot of pace. The Lamborghini Squadra Corsa squad firming up their GT3 Junior ranks earlier in the week, and both Rodrigo Testa and Leonardo Moncini are on that list officially now. And no surprise, Elite Motorsport has been called up to race control to explain what was happening there. So Eddie Ives' squad is under the microscope at the moment.
Yeah, see, owing to the start of the race, now we see yet more togetherness, certainly more side-by-side action between Abril and McDonald, who's already managed to dispute or settle one dispute over a position. See, moving up to 6th place with Jim Pla down in 7th. Well, next on his list is Vincent Abril. Now, he's not going to be a tricky, well, he's going to be a tricky man to get past, put it that way, especially considering his pace. Only recently declared that he will no longer be acting as a professional driver in the sense of being a professional racing driver, but still a very handy driver to have alongside anybody for a championship, no less than Laurent de Meus, and these two share a fantastic relationship as a team.
I asked him if he got any FOMO not being at Spa last weekend, and he said not one iota. He is loving his new life, working for the family business, and just occasionally coming and doing races with us. This is the only program he's doing this year, Vincent Abril.
And I dare say it'll be probably the one program he commits to going forward as well, because, I mean, this is perfect as far as his situation is concerned.
People love coming in and doing some GT Sport organisation racing. The paddock here, incredibly friendly. Everyone has a great time. The competition is just as fierce as anywhere else you will find, but we all have a good time doing it. And the positivity I hear coming from every single driver up and down this grid as to how much they're enjoying racing in the GT Open of late. It's just, it's absolutely endless.
And that's illustrated really in the expansion, the aggressive expansion we have had ever since 2022, which has now seen us rise to the point, well, in this particular race, obviously appreciate we've lost a couple coming into the weekend, but, you know, 26 cars on the grid to certainly take part in this weekend's festivities.
And let's be honest, that's on the lower end of this year as well. There are mitigating circumstances, there always are, but, you know, we've been averaging 30 odd throughout the season. So, yeah, no, it's just been great. Great grids, and the level of competition has really risen up as well. This is not some amateur championship anymore like it maybe was 15 years ago. There are some real stars and talent coming up through the order.
Well, especially when you got the likes of, you know, future stars like Tom Leben, and of course Tom Empson proving that he's no slouch either, and obviously with Fontana alongside a proving young hopeful as well in Pietro Armani.
Look who's in the top. Pla, McDonald, Abril, Gertz, Fontana, and Lebon's ahead of all of them. So I think that speaks for itself. So we've got Yaroslav Visalaho trying to make moves here, the rookie driver. First year of GT3 racing for him. He's got the good speed Aston Martin in front of him. Winners in their class last time out in Misano. It was the first win for the Polish squad. They've actually got the fellow AM car, Marcello Hahn. That's second and third in class being disputed in the Blau car in front of them. And the AF Corsa, the second AF Corsa car behind them is the I believe Wildcard. I don't think they're due to be with us for some other races, but the 107, Marco Bononomi, that we saw go very wide at turn 2 on the opening lap.
Yeah, without a doubt. Currently riding on board now with Yaroslav Veselaho. He now comes into the chicane, 6 and 7, and then back on the power again as he looks to utilise the power in his Ferrari 296 to try and undo this good speed Aston that sits in front. Thomas Magjarz obviously doing his best to try and retain the place. Marcello Hahn being given clairvoyance to continue now because, dare I say, Magjarz focusing on the defensive element a little bit more as now Veselaho. Now we've got news concerning Elite. 5-second time penalty after a jump start right at the beginning of the race. Of course, those of you who may have not seen it, just tuned in, of course, they got a really, really quick start. And unfortunately, it's been deemed by the stewards that it's against the grain of the rules of this championship.
So that does answer the question. We don't think there was a problem on the FAC car. I mean, it's still in 4th position, still leading in its class as well. So it was just Leben jumping the gun there a little bit by the looks of it, which is a shame to see, especially considering that car already has 20 seconds of handicap. And they can't add that on in a pit stop either. Those 5 seconds have to be done at the end of the race. So we're going to see it again. You see, FAC's going very slowly, but Tom does just kind of pull the pin and go, doesn't he? He's rolling to the lights much quicker than everyone else was.
He's probably thinking in his head, well, we've got 20. What's another 5 seconds here at this point?
Oh, that the Blau car there is so tight to the inside. He was on the grass even.
That's Marcello Hahn.
Yeah.
Obviously just moving up the inside. And that was past the SVC Lamborghini.
And then getting his elbows out there with Piotr Vera's Aston Martin as well. That's how he took second in the category. And Wisla is going to get squeezed out into turn 4 as well. Don't say that amateur racing isn't entertaining, because those are the AM drivers, but there is nothing amateur about what they do at all. They're operating at such a professional level.
Yeah, and at the same time, Chris, you've got to factor in there's no points that separate Joel Monegro-Reyes in the championship against Adrian and Andre Lewandowski at the moment. 44 across the board. And dare I say, on top of that, we've lost... Goodness me, that's the PTT BMW, and that's Darmetko who has gone off, and likewise the 79 of Suin Mazur taking a tumble as well. Now that's at the chicane at turn 6 and 7. I can only imagine, maybe wheel to wheel, combination of the curbs. That can very easily unsettle any car in its balance. But going back to the AM Championship, you're talking 8 points, Chris, between Ps1 and Ps3.
Yeah, absolutely nothing separates them. It's so close in all 3 of the championships. At the moment, on paper, the FAC team are running away with it in Pro-Am, but we have got drop scores to have to put into effect there as well. Now we're going to see what happened here. It's Darmetko up the inside of Suin Mazur. Mazur didn't feel like leaving a BMW's width there. They make contact at the apex of turn 6, so round goes the Lamborghini, and round goes the BMW as well.
I mean, you can almost get a picture of what was going to happen there regardless. I mean, especially when you come up to the chicane, 2 into 1 simply do not go when you're headed to turn 6 and 7.
That's the 107 car, the Bononomi car, that's got around the 14. Sorry, it's Thomas Magjarsh, according to our timing screen, in the number 14, not Piotr Vera. I could have sworn he qualified the car this morning, but that is a change for overall position with... Wisla now up to 12th position.
Magjarsh under pressure because Testa is testing him right now as they make their way out of turn 5. Wasn't quite able to thread the needle at the inside. Magjarsh did just about enough, and he's been countlessly trying to defend against this Lamborghini that's really starting to apply the pressure. And again on the inside from Testa. Oh, that was brilliant.
Got the back end squirming away as he came through turn 8 as well. We're on board with Joel Monegro, the 5th place driver in the AM category. He's now got his class rival directly in front of him. Thomas Magjarsh, the former professional footballer in Poland, celebrating his first win last time out in Misano. And Joel Monegro, the championship leader in the AM category in the number 12 car from FAC Autotech.
Rodrigo Testa managing to manufacture the overtake to finally get past Magjarsh, and now that's 14th place for him. Of course, they would have their eyes set on something a little better than that, certainly considering their entry as a pro car. Let's take a look at this again. Coming through the chicane out of 6 and 7, a little bit of a squirrely moment, but quickly recovered, and up the inside at turn 8. Blistering from the SVC Lamborghini. Just see the back end just having a little shake. It's like a cat waiting to pounce, and that's exactly what it did. The Lamborghini rushes on through, and now that is P14.
And just behind them, you've got Marcelo Ramirez, who couldn't change gear in his final runs in qualifying this morning, which is why he was a little bit further down than he was hoping for. So we rejoin the battle for 5th position between Vincent Abril and Dean McDonald. Dean McDonald, our winner from Portimao, alongside Zach Meakin, 2nd in both races last time out in Portimao. Those 2 last lap dances with the elite car being passed by Tom Leben was Zach Meakin in race 1 with just a couple of corners to go, and then McDonald piling on the pressure at the end of the race against Tom Empson in race 2. It was an absolute joy to watch, and this Greystone team trying to get their championship challenge back on track after a very difficult Spa 500 where they did not score points in that double points race. So that is their one and only drop score used up for the whole season. And look how much Dean is trying to open up the circuit. He's monstering the curb at the penultimate corner there, trying to find any clean air for the front of his McLaren as he chases the back of the 296, which has had a lot of modifications for this year. A lot more of the aerodynamic balance go towards the rear of the car to make it a bit better in pursuing other cars. And Abril hanging on to that 4th place at the moment. As we see Lebon 1.3 ahead of Fontana, but with a 5-second time penalty to serve at the end of the race. So you would say that Fontana is in a very good spot here as the good speed Aston Martin comes under yet more pressure. Joel Monegro goes through for 4th position in the category, and Marcelo Ramirez goes through for overall position as well. That then opens up the door for Adrian Lewandowski to go through into 5th position in the AM category to the outside at turn number 2. The Baron Motorsport car trying to go the long way round, but McJosh holds on to the place.
Yeah, did enough just to hold on there, but unfortunately losing out to Ramirez. I think, though, he'll be more concerned about the Lewandowski car that is sat behind him, obviously, in this case, but McJosh, nonetheless, having to draw swords with cars all around him. Joel Monegro Reaz, though, showing just how impressive he truly is. Of course, a photographer many years ago. That was his profession, obviously, whilst he was studying. And that was over 15 years ago. He was telling us all about it in the paddock as the dust gets kicked up. And I think Ramirez sensed an opportunity. And Monegro Reaz was bent out of shape coming out of turn 8. That might have actually left an opportunity there, indeed, for Ramirez to effectively just race on through.
I can't wait to see the onboard footage on Instagram from Joel's car later. He just has some of the most amazing equipment aboard his car. Absolutely stunning pictures that end up being captured and are on his social media. I strongly urge you to check out at your leisure.
Yeah, proven to be a fantastic talent behind the wheel in the SAM Championship, leading the way at the moment, but remember, level on points with the Lewandowskis, who I'm sure will have no qualms in trying to gain a few places to their own. They're currently stuck behind McJosh and looking to try and jump up through the realm, and in fact Monegro Reaz is toppling down the field at the moment, and there he is, and this is why it's wheel to wheel. And look at this, we've got the 777 Audi of Jedlinski. Here come the Lewandowskis as they make their way through, and unfortunately for Monegro Reaz, toppling down the order in free fall in AM class.
Oh, we were 4 abreast into the first corner at one point there, with Rafael Duran shoving his nose into the mix as well, but a poor run through the final corner seemingly for Joel Monegro, and that has very heavily compromised him. It's allowed the Aston Martin to go back through, allowed the Ferrari to go back through, sorry, and the Marcin Jedlinski car as well for 17th position overall. So that means Monegro now back down to 6th in his class and 20th overall. And he's got Dexter Muller on his tail now as well in the Carbahn Mercedes.
McJosh getting to enjoy P4 again at the same time. So, again, becoming a thorn in the side of Adrian Lewandowski. But, in between them is Marcin Jedlinski, and there is Adrian Lewandowski going wide, and that's going to open the door for Duran. We've got a steward's decision, 10-second time penalty going as well to car 7. Now, if I'm not mistaken, that's the PTT BMW of Hubert Darmetko after the crash at turn 6 and 7.
Yeah, with Suan Mazur. So the stewards deemed him to be at fault for that one. Was that up the inside into the turns 6 and 7 chicane. Both cars went round and are now circulating in 23rd and 24th place at the moment. Mazur ahead of Darmetko, so only Darren Kell and Alfredo Hernandez behind them on the road. Let's take a look again at this 4-wide moment, and a touch there between Marcin Jedlinski and the Baron car of Lewandowski.
Very little room there.
Yeah, doing, what, 230 kilometers an hour down the front straight there. Brilliant stuff.
Very tight, not afraid to rub paint off one another, as Jaroslav Veselaho now looks to move up as well. It's got Marcelo Han to deal with. Of course, Han representing the AM class, and Veselaho in the Pro class. So seemingly the Ukrainian needs to try and get past ASAP, because as far as he's concerned, it's all about the overalls. Remember, for those in the AM class, they just need to overtake and be ahead of those in their respective class. For the overalls, for instance, the Pro cars, such as Jaroslav Veselaho, needs to make as many places, no matter what class it may be.
There is not a Pro championship. They score overall points.
It's all about
that's
overall.
what's important for them. The 2 cars coming out of the same stable here. It's AF Corsa battling away. The leaders making their way through the last couple of corners. 10 minutes until the driver change window opens as we approach almost 20 minutes into the race now. And still Vincent Abrel is soaking up the pressure here from Dean McDonald.
Despite the penalty, I mean, Tom Leben doing well to keep a second plus against Fontana at the moment.
I think Fontana's got no interest in racing that car. He'd have known even way before he got that 5-second time penalty that his race is not with Tom Lebon today, as we see the incident again between Darmetko and Mazur. Darmetko cupping a 10-second time penalty for that contact in the BMW.
The immense benefit, obviously, for ZRS is they have no handicap to serve, so this will put Fontana in the prime spot to allow Armani to wreak havoc in the second half of the race, and that's going to be their plan. Their biggest red alert will be the likes of Maxi Gertz and Christian Mansell, who are only serving 5 seconds additional to, of course, the predetermined time that they all have to serve as a standard. So they're going to be their main threat.
And remember, it's going to be all about the pit stops, because if one of them comes in early, maybe gets an undercut on them, you know, Motor Park have an opportunity to undo some of that damage if they want to get Christian in the car early, for example, if they can get him some clean air. So that's going to be all important for the second part of the race.
Yeah, well, Mercedes have had successes here in the past. Alfred Zubair and Fabian Schiller back in 2023, winning race 1. And so Mercedes do have a footprint here at Budapest. So we now keep our eyes peeled on Marcello Hahn, still frustrating Jaroslav Veselaho. Of course, this is allowing Marcello Ramirez to also join the party. So they continue to tussle and fight over that P13 position.
I bumped into Ramirez earlier, and of course England v Mexico tomorrow, so he said we can be friends today but not tomorrow.
No. Of course, Mexico are a proud footballing nation.
Oh, they're having a heck of a run at the moment. Fair play.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I mean, at the end of the day, to be in the last 16 is a massive effort.
Pretty impressive, yeah. But he said we're friends for now, but as soon as the first whistle blows on, well, I guess technically Monday morning for us, then we're not allowed to be friends anymore.
I mean, I suppose interviewing him is determined by the result of that particular game, whether we hear from Ramirez again or not. We'll wait and see. He may not want to speak to us ever again. But we'll wait for the scoreline to come through.
But you're okay. You're from the other side of the border, so you're okay, actually.
I'm a neutral beat from South Wales, as we know, right on board with the Motor Park 28 of Ramirez right now, who's on charge down through towards turn 3 and eventually turn 4. Marcello Hahn driving out of his skin, and it's a proud moment for the Hahn family this weekend because, of course, Cello Hahn, similar namesake, coming out of F4 Brazil, racing in the Euro Formula Open Championship, which is, of course, in support of the International GT Open, but still under the GT Sport umbrella. Christian Hahn, back in 2017 to 2019, also partaking in the Euro Formula Open Championship and taking multiple podiums by extension as well. They are truly ingrained in the GT Sport Organisation Championships.
Marcello and Christian did some races together, didn't they? So maybe we'll see the same between Marcello and Marcello Jr. In years to come. Just 17 years old now is Cello, and making his debut in the Euro Formula Open Championship this weekend. His first race outside of Formula 4, and that's all to come shortly after this GT Open race.
And we are seeing a couple of young starlets come out of the Euro Formula Open Championship in the last couple of years, moving into the International GT Open Championship, racing GT3s. Of course, we've got Christian Mansell as a prime example, but of course last year's champion, Levente Reves, a former Euro Formula Open driver, wanted to tackle GT3, of course ended up becoming champion then last year alongside Maxi Gertz, who gave him that helping hand, but of course Reves, the sole title holder.
I hope Motor Park can get him his seat sorted for this season. We want him back on the grid here, don't we, really? And a few issues with getting his car actually running on the grid for this season, sadly. It was nice to see him out at Spa last weekend, but we want to see him racing regularly, don't we? So hopefully team can get that sorted by the end of the season. See Tom Lebon, the lead gap now just 0.6 of a second. It's been ebbing and flowing quite a bit between Lebon and Fontana. As you see the Porsche closing in once again. And I've said it once, George. I've said it quite a few times, in fact, actually, but this is just everything that's great about GT racing. You've got the mid-engined twin-turbocharged V6 leading the race here. You've got the rear-engine flat-six Porsche chasing it. Behind them, the front-engine naturally aspirated V8 lump in the Mercedes, right up there in third position as well. The brand identity and the difference in performance, the difference in soundtrack as well. There's so many fans here that are soaking up there's this cacophony, this symphony, this orchestra of motorsport here.
It's an opportunity to really test unique and bespoke builds against one another from variants of manufacturers who have largely different methods of manufacturing and different essences of design as well by that same token. So this is why we do love GT3 racing, because it does test these manufacturers to see who is OP in this day and age in world motorsport, but equally the drivers.
Well, that's the other beauty of it as well. No one is OP in GT3 racing thanks to balance of performance. And I know people whinge, they get on Twitter and they go wow, wow, wow about BOP. But let me tell you, a life without BOP and you will hate it even more, trust me.
Well, we get the privilege to watch them go at it here. Jaroslav Veselaho still being faced by the defence of Marcello Hahn, Blair Motorsport driver, positioning his Ferrari in all the right places at this stage. And in behind, Marcello Ramirez will have no qualms about making the big moves if an opportunity should arise. We've seen a few here coming out of turn 3 and turn 4 in the past as they now climb up the hill through towards the very fast left-hander, where you'll use as much of that inside curb as possible before then hammering out of turn 5. And then it's the chicane up next, where, of course, we saw Hubert Darmetko come into contact with Suin Mazur, leading to the time penalty that reared its ugly head against Darmetko at the very start of the race.
Can I sing the praises of Alexander Fuck again? I know we've done it quite a bit this season, but he is solidly 3 seconds ahead of Vincent Abril. That is impressive.
I think it's only fair that you do, because, I mean, at the end of the day, to lead the championship in Pro-Am by 20 points, and then to step up here and, like you so rightly say, gap Vincent Abril, as now we see moves here on show by Marcello Ramirez, so close to contact, but around the outside against Jaroslav Veselaho. That is a fantastic overtake by Marcello Ramirez. He'll be saying, well, let's hope Mexico can do this tomorrow night.
Pin that one for the Instagram later, won't he? That was a fabulous move there by Marcello Ramirez. Around the outside of Jaroslav Veselaho, and taking 14th position away from the Ukrainian driver. Let's have a look at it again. Gets a run out of here. Veselaho defends to the inside, and Ramirez, lots of confidence on the left foot, pinches him up on the curb. That's fantastic stuff.
And that's a brilliant levy of response there from Ramirez, because Jaroslav Veselaho actually blocked, or certainly went to defend quite late in the day. It was a sudden change of direction. So to respond like he did and commit to the move around the outside, nevertheless, you tend to be better served carrying the inside line coming out of that segment of circuit, but carried the speed, and it was magnificently done.
Got a stopper on too, on the exit of the corner, just for good measure.
Yeah,
this is closing up here.
Yeah, well, the gap was 1.1 between Tom Leben and Alex Fontana. Well, since then, Fontana has been going to work, and in fact, the last laps, though, I will say this, Leben was quicker by a tenth or so. So whether something has happened through the course of this particular lap that has allowed Fontana to close it, dare I say, it may fall afoul here for Leben.
Quickest driver out of the top 4 last time around, though, was the car at the back of the queue, which is Alexander Fuck. So they are compressing a little bit.
It was 2 tenths inside the first sector. Fontana, incidentally, going purple over the last lap in that first sector. So has actually been hoovering that time up. Hence why we're now in a position where the two cars are now closely manacled to one another. Maxi Gertz to the 144.4 over the last lap, actually quicker than anyone else in that top 3. So even quicker than Leben, quicker than Fontana. Alexander Fack still lapping consistently well. Not only is he gapping Abril, he's closing on Maxi Gertz.
Pretty impressive stuff, isn't it, from the young Swiss, closing up on 3rd position at the moment. But remember, that is a Pro-Am car, so you expect it to fall down the overall order in the second part of the race, as quick as Alex Schwarzer is amongst the bronze drivers.
But he's leaving a platform for Schwarzer.
Absolutely, yes. Because, 3.5 seconds ahead of Vincent Abril. So, in theory, it should be the Vincent Abril car when Laurent Demeas takes over in the pit stop. In theory, that car should come out ahead in the Pro-Am battle, because that is an unhandicapped car.
Well, Jim Pla's not serving in Pro-Am. He's down in 7th at the moment. And obviously, he'll be handing, of course, the car over later on as well, with like I say, no handicap. So it's, you know, if he's in a position now where he's 10.5, you know, off the top.
So it could be, Michael Blanchimont will be in a very strong position, won't he? And I'm trying to look. I don't think Santalok and Michael Blanchimont have actually won a race in GT Open before. They've definitely had podiums. I don't think they've won a race.
No, it could be tight. But obviously they won't want to forfeit too much time, more than the 10 seconds that they have done. Obviously they need to be conscious of Alexander Fack.
Let's not also forget Kobe Powell's not far behind them as well in the Blackthorn Aston Martin, with Charles Bateman getting ready to climb aboard that car, fresh from a what he described to me as a pretty disastrous Road to Le Mans appearance. That's why he wasn't in Misano with us. And first action in the pit lane, it's Libor Milota, who is vacating the ISR Audi and handing over to his pro driver, Philippe Salacada.
This could be a good race for them. Of course, they know all about Budapest. And making the change now with Salacada. Of course, they're very much proven themselves here at ISR, who have taken part in the ESET Cup in the past. And now I've got a very strong stranglehold on GT3 racing and have been with us in the Pro-Am class for quite a few years. Gaylord Osman stepping in place of Marcello Hahn in the Blauer Motorsport machine. Dexter Muller will be leaping out for Yannick Mettler in the car barn by SBS Mercedes. Of course, they'll be looking for some improved Pro-Am successes as well. They've, of course, had their good times and, of course, like many, rough times as well, to say the least, but that is motorsport. As Marcello Ramirez hops out, and it will be Dominic Baumann stepping in his place as well. Fack Auto Tech serving their point, because Joel Monegro Reyes will not be changing over. He'll be doing the whole stint, but does have a meteoric 20 seconds to serve.
First pit stop for the brand new Gamota Racing squad. Antal Zigo back in the GT Open. We saw him racing previously with the Racing Trevor squad, now forming a brand new team and handing over to Saba Walter.
Just want to correct my earlier statement, not 20 seconds, 10 seconds for Joel Monegro Reyes. 20 seconds for the sister Fack Auto Tech car.
And look at this, the cars are coming out right in between the leaders, and the SVC Lamborghini was side by side there with Fontana, and Moncini isn't going to want to back down. He still wants to hold his place, but he's right in the thick of the action here amongst the leading quartet.
Yeah, there is the ZRS Porsche just in behind Tom Levin at the moment. There is the track-focused car of Darren Kell, who'll be swapping out for son James Kell, who has come in to join his father after a stint with Dean McDonald last year.
So let's quickly just run through everything. It's 20 seconds for the Baron car, and for the Fack Auto Tech number 11, and for the elite car that's leading the race. 15 seconds for the 16 AF Corsa car, the Blackthorn Aston Martin, and the 107 AF Corsa car. 10 seconds for the Greystone McLaren, the Goodspeed Aston Martin, the number 12 Fack car, Joel Monegro, and then 5 seconds for PTT, for Motorpark, the 71 for ISR, and for the 777.
Yeah, so that's your updates there, folks. A little look at the inside again for the Fack Auto Tech machine, as it looks to keep on pushing. Alexander Fack still behind the wheel, trying to chase down after Maxi Gertz. A hair's breadth between them. That gap has closed down quite quickly. And in comes, by the looks of it, our race leader on track, Tom Levin. And he's not alone, because Maxi Gertz will be coming into exchange for Christian Mansell. Was the former F3 driver. A little bit of time in F2, but now ultimately taking on GT Racing. We'll be making that swap.
So, Motorpark are going to try and get an undercut here, as is Greystone, because Dean McDonald has brought the 33 in to hand over to Zach Meakin. So they're going to try and get some clean air and hope they can undercut the cars in front. Meanwhile, Fontana's just going to keep pounding around out there. This is going to be a slow stop for Elite Motorsport here. No need to rush it. They've got plenty of time to make sure they get that stop done correctly, all the tyres attached securely.
They also knew what was coming, I think, after winning the 2 races back-to-back at Misano.
Yes.
You know, they knew that was coming.
It's so rare to do a back-to-back.
It is, it is.
As well.
Absolutely.
What did we say? It was only like the 14th time in history that's happened in the championship or something like that. I've got it written down somewhere.
Yeah. It has happened here before at Hungaroring. Frederick Schandorf actually managed to do it with Michele Beretta back in 2021.
Well, there you go.
So they managed to back-to-back the weekend here at Hungaroring.
So Fontana, for the first time in this race, now with clean air. And let's see see what he can do. I will say that now that Carol Bash is aboard the 777 car, he is flying out there. Fastest in the first sector. Thomas Neubauer also flying in the 96. Dominic Baumann going very strongly in the 28 car from Team Motor Park. So now that we've seen the AM drivers step out of the car, we've got the factory drivers and the quick drivers aboard. Christian Mansell coming out onto the racetrack, and he's in very clean air. That's a really, really good move there from Team Motor Park. He can get that car up to speed. Let's see. I mean, he's taken 5 seconds, so he's already lost out to Alex Fontana there, the 911 from ZRS. Can he start to undo some of that now?
Well, it's also how is the traffic going to implicate Fontana, I think, at this point at the same time. Though I must say we'll wait and see when their pit stop comes to fruition. But this does allow Mansell just to have that clear avenue, just to lay down those lap times, bring down the delta, and we know how quick he is.
He's got 13 seconds of clean air in front of him, so yeah, he's got a lot of time to play with there. And no surprise, Tom Empson here is behind Mansell and behind Zach Meakin as well.
Yeah, we shouldn't be surprised at that at all after serving the 20 seconds of handicap. Then on top of that, they're going to be serving the 5 seconds at the close of race, which will be added to their race time when, of course, they cross the checkered flag. But we've still got 35 to 36 minutes before that occurrence. Plenty of time left for some late drama as well. In accordance to our timing screen, your net race leader, Mansell, at the moment, who's already taken a stop. But the big question is, can he rein in that delta to penetrate the gap to Fontana after they box? Last lap for Fontana was a 1:44.5. We'll have to wait and see what Christian Mansell's lap times or where they're currently sitting. Of course, his last one was a 1:49, but bear in mind that's not necessarily representative of what they can achieve in that car. Let's wait and see. There's Fontana in the 911 Porsche for ZRS. Of course, Pietro Armani will be patiently awaiting his chance to hop on board and tackle the remainder of this race, and certainly proved himself to be a cut above the rest, obviously off the back of Portimao, where they came away with their first victory in their first race of the International GT Open after spending a grand deal of time in the GT Cup Europe Championship, as they now storm down through towards turn 1. Fontana behind the wheel, a gap of 2.6 now make that 2.5 to Alexander Fack in the Fack Autotech Porsche. It's Porsche 1 and 2 on circuit, with Vincent Abril trying to close up to the back of Fack, but that gap has expanded to 3 seconds over the course of time, just due to Fack's brilliance. And Jim Pla, Pavel's down in 5th as well.
So top 9 yet to come into pit lane. They've got 6.5 minutes in order to do so. That includes your top 4 in Pro-Am, the cars that started with their quick drivers aboard. Philippe Salacada is the driver to keep an eye out there. The ISR Audi that started with its bronze driver now has its quick driver aboard. So those cars will start to close up to them towards the end of the race as they rein in the bronze drivers when they hand over the car after the pit stop sequence. You've got the top 4 in the AM category there as well. Then, of course, Alex Fontana in the leading Porsche, ready to hand over to Pietro Armani. But I imagine he'll try and extend this stint as much as possible, because right now he's got clean air and the lap times are very, very strong. 44.4 last time around. And if we take a look at Mansell hasn't completed his first flying lap just yet. I imagine he will do so very shortly, and we can get a proper indication as to what the pace is like.
He has hoovered up, though, that 13-second gap against Serwin Mazur. That's now dropped down to 9.3 as we're looking at it. So the driver change window is still on for the next 5 minutes and 30. The times have just been updated. It's 1:44.4 there from Mansell, which was actually a quicker 1:44.4 than Alex Fontana.
But he's matching the leader. Yeah. So it should be a stable 5-ish seconds if that continues like that.
Unless there's an issue somewhere.
Oh, look at this. This is a bit of a nightmare for Jim Pla here, who hasn't pitted yet, and he's behind Carol Bash, who has stopped and is a lap down because of that. So Jim's not running in clean air at the moment. He's just waiting to hand over the car to Michael Blanchimont. And Carol Bash has already taken over from Marcin Jedlinski here. So that's a bit of a nightmare for the Santalock.
It looks like he may have been overtaken.
He was overtaken,
yeah.
So it was that slightly wide moment there for the Audi, and Bash needed no second invitation there, did he? I remember him pulling a stunning move on Max Hesse in the start of the race last year, when he was starting up at the front of the field. That was when they were still running the Audi on the 777 side of the Olymp garage.
Yeah, stunning move coming in towards turn 10. There's the Blackthorn, Aston Martin, Kobe Pavels. We're handing over to Charles Bateman, back again in the championship with his third different teammate.
Yeah, in 3 races, and new livery as well aboard the Blackthorn car at the special request of Charles Bateman's daughter, apparently, who requested not just pink, but a specific type of pink to match her trainers. So, like, took the Pantone code and everything over to there. And it's a rhubarb and custard livery now, apparently, is what they're calling it.
That's exactly what I was thinking. I mean, you can get sort of sour sweets that look like that as well, but nothing sour about that. That is as sweet as they come, that particular livery. So, nice design work there from the daughter of Charles Bateman. And, we now watch ZRS Motorsport Porsche storm down through towards turn 1 yet again. Fontana using every inch, every asset, every second of the available driver change window that he has. 3 minutes and 20 to go. I would dare say potentially maybe one more lap that he can muster in. Christian Mansell, 1:43.9, and he's actually knocking time off. That is a severe time deficit. 7 tenths.
Yeah. In comes Alexander Fuck. Meanwhile, maybe a lap early, but handing over to Alex Schwarzer. Now, that is the Pro-Am leader, but remember, after double victory in Misano, 20 seconds of handicap to serve for that car.
I think at the same time, we'll see how Philippe Salacard is getting on, because, of course, they had a very prompt and early swiftly changed as well. So in Mazur, they're in 8th place. Obviously, that's Christian Mansell, who is behind 6.8, so the gap coming down again between. So the clean air will very soon run out for Mansell unless Owen Mazur comes in and makes his stop. So we'll wait and see when that does happen. There is the ZRS Porsche, with Fontana at the top, still yet to come in. I would imagine perhaps he will think about doing it this lap. Dare I say, will he try one more? I think he might be cutting it a little bit fine to do that, but we'll wait and see what he decides to do. Vincent Abril currently leading the Pro-Am class in terms of what's going on track. Of course, we'll be handing over to Laurent de Meus in time, with Jim Pla and Michael Blanchimont swapping places. Christian Kozanowski still going the distance as well. At the same time, he'll be handing over to Stanislav Jedlinski. There's Serwin Mazur, who, as I mentioned, was in front of Mansell, and now that's going to allow Mansell just to coast on through, and he's got even more clean air, Chris, because it's 15.6 seconds now.
I think the Fart car was just a little bit compromised pulling out of its box as the Lamborghini came in. Fastest lap of the race, though, has been done by Tom Empson in the elite car. Brilliant stuff, closing in on Zach Meekin. Shades of Misano again, but in comes the race leader, Alex Fontana, handing over to Pietro Armani. Laurent de Meus is about to take over the 55 from Vincent Abril there as well. There is the Belgian driver, Jim Pla, in the pit lane as well, handing over to Michael Blanchimont. You imagine everybody else is going to follow suit now as well. So Kozanowski, Bononomi and Magjosh will have to come in as well on this lap. So let's keep an eye on where Christian Mansell is. He's making his way through the middle sector now, the twisty section at 8, 9 and 10, while Armani is getting strapped into the Porsche and serving the necessary handicap, getting topped up with fuel as well, because they need a small splash to do the 70-minute distance. Probably a fresher set of Michelin tyres going aboard the car as well. And so let's see where Armani comes out in relation to the Australian.
I was right to keep an eye on ISR Audi, because they're only 9 tenths away from Pro-Am net P1 sitters Alexander Schwarzer. So ISR Audi have a big chance at a circuit that they know very well, to actually take a Pro-Am victory this season, which would be absolutely sensational for them here at this point. So huge potential.
Here's Armani.
Armani coming out, and in the distance you can see the Mercedes of Christian Mansell in full pursuit, but we'll have to see where the gap sits when they cross the line and make their way down towards turn 1. There's the good speed, Aston.
He's probably going to be side by side with de Meus through the first corner. He's got to clear that car as quick as possible, because that's the bronze driver aboard. Move down the inside into 2. He's wasting no time and making sure he gets clean air between himself and Pietro Armani. So we'll get a gap when they go over the next timing line. But the long and the short of it there is that Laurent de Meus is your Pro-Am leader now in the 55. For how long that will stay, we will see shortly. 3 seconds between Mansell and Armani. So Mansell has definitely brought down the gap since he got aboard the car. Remember, that car was stationary for an additional 5 seconds owing to its previous successes, the handicap, as we call it.
It's the battle of the young guns, both of them making their mark in GT3 racing this season. Mansell, of course, coming in from single-seaters where he was trying to climb the Formula One ladder through the pyramids of FIA F3 and FIA F2. Of course, prior to that, part of the Euro Formula fraternity. Armani also coming out of single-seaters, but taking part in the GT Cup Europe Championship, cutting his teeth in GT racing prior to jumping in a big GT3 beast. And here at this stage, we're going to be watching the two youngsters go at it. And indeed, Mansell taking 4/10 out of Armani already as we now drift back to Tom Empson, who will be serving. Remember, the reason we have the warning next to his name on the timing screen, that's the 5 seconds that they will be given at the end of the race, folks. And he's being challenged by Michael Blanchimont.
He's just past Blanchimont, actually. So the bronze driver yielding 5th place overall there, but he's going to be now in pursuit of Laurent de Meus. So in Pro-Am, it's de Meus, 2 cars between himself and Blanchimont, about 8 seconds or so. Then there's another 8 seconds back to Alex Schwarzer. So that car, that fat car, despite 20 seconds of handicap, still in 3rd place, but with Salicada on his tail. As we see how Tom Empson got around Michael Blanchimont there. Fairly simple move in the end for Empson.
Yeah, very Carol Bash-esque from what we saw earlier on. So, yes, absolutely right, getting past Blanchimont, coming through into the final sector out of Sector 2. There is Christian Mansell, and once again, knocking yet more time out of Pietro Armani. Remember that 2.6 gap? Well, it's now 2.1. He is closing in like a runaway train. And now as they come down through towards the chicane once again out of turn 6 and 7. Turn 8 will await them, and Pietro Armani, the Italian, is going to need to stack his defence here right now in order to try and keep the Aussie from penetrating that P1 spot.
Stanislav Jedlinski emerging in the lead in the AM category, the 79-year-old Polish driver. Fair play to him. I would anticipate that the gap to Galed Osman, Ray Acosta and Joel Monegro in 2nd, 3rd and 4th will diminish. So that'll end up being your lead battle in the AM category fairly shortly, as Zach Meakin looks to the back of Laurent de Meus. This is for the overall podium spot, and so Meakin trying to get around the Pro-Am leader. Remember, it's the bronze driver aboard that car at the moment.
But it's offering now Tom Empson an opportunity. If de Meus keeps Meakin behind, Empson could put a little hole in the gap. Obviously, that's currently 6.4 seconds, but not forgetting there is a 5-second penalty to be added on top of that. I've got to give credit where credit's due here to Elite Racing Ferrari, despite the 20 seconds that they had to serve. The fact that they are currently inside the top 5 on track right now, obviously the 5 seconds aside, that is painful for them. But at the same time, to achieve what they have done just goes to show how Tom Empson has come a long way in the last couple of years, as well as Tom Leben too.
Massively improved driver is Tom Empson compared to 12 months ago. The Elite squad gaining in experience. Remember when it was a brand new project for them at the start of last year. Took delivery of the car in February, won with it in July. So that Meakin goes down the inside into turn 5 on Laurent de Meus. That's 3rd position now for the Greystone car. De Meus hangs on to the Pro-Am lead, but 1 fewer car between himself and his class rivals, who are lapping quicker than him at the moment. Blanchimont is lapping quicker than de Meus. Schwarzer and Salicada are lapping quicker than Blanchimont too.
Yep. Schaber Walter obviously being told to give way to blue flags as we now watch the replay. Zach Meakin moving into 3rd place ahead of Laurent de Meus, who still leads the Pro-Am, which is all he'll be worried about. Still got a 5.5 second gap to the Elite Racing Ferrari, but obviously owing to the pace of that Elite Racing car, it won't be long, I'm sure, before they're clipping at his heels. The two Ferraris will pass each other like ships in the night, with Michael Blanchimont and Alexander Schwarzer looking to contest against de Meus over that Pro-Am P1. And you can imagine that Vincent Abril is going to be on the radio to Laurent de Meus, offering every little bit of wisdom he can offer to try and help Laurent de Meus bring it home. The Belgian driver, who has been long a participant in the International GT Open, competing with the likes, say, for example, of David Fuminelli, not to mention others that have come through in the past.
5-second time penalty here, Josh, for the 51 car, the Tommaso Mosca and Rafael Duran car, for an unsafe manoeuvre on pit lane entry. So that assuming that is when Duran came into pit lane for the pit stop. Not quite sure what that unsafe manoeuvre was, but Mosca now carrying a 5-second time penalty as a result of it. We've got yellow flags at turn 10, and this is why we've got the 107 car off the road, and we just avoids the barriers. Ray Acosta at the wheel of the 107, but has come to a halt in the gravel trap.
And that's not a great place to be. The wheels are spinning, but no one's home. This is the moment. And I must say, the De Bianca car was very lucky not to be collected. At the same time, the PTT BMW has already been on the wrong end of a penalty already at the very start of the race. But that's Ray Acosta in the gravel. And as you can see, motionless. The wheels are turning, but it's not able to get under the gravel.
Well, if we need a safety car here, then that changes everything, George.
It does. It certainly does. I mean, it offers opportunities, not to mention to Zach Meakin to close that gap to the back of Christian Mansell. Safety car is indeed out, owing to the incident at turn 11.
That is a nightmare for Laurent de Meyer, for Michael Blanchimont, for Alex Schwarzer, the top three in Pro-Am. For the top three in Pro-Am, that is absolutely disastrous, because that's going to put all the quick drivers on their tail. And you do wonder what the 55 crew have to do to get a bit of luck this season, because the same thing happened in Misano, not least the puncture that De Meers had in the middle of Radion at Spa.
And you can also imagine that if you're Tom Empson and Tom Leben, you must be gutted, because you had the 5-second time penalty, the safety car neutralising the 20 seconds he had to serve additional, owing to the handicap during the pit stop phase.
Well, this is, and I'd still say that's a net win for Elite, because it's going to bring them back up to Meakin and Mansell. Yes, they've got De Meers in between them, but you'll imagine it'll make quick work of De Meers on the restart.
If, say, they were to overtake Armani Mansell, that's not enough, because then they need to scrub away that 5 seconds.
Just to give you an indication of how hot it is, that is Alex Fontana after doing 35 minutes. In a GT3 car out here, and he looked a bit damp.
Well, it was 26 degrees this morning coming in, and obviously it's gone up since.
Yeah, we're up to about 31, 32 now, I think.
Yeah, about 31, 32, which is truly, well, for those of you, wherever you are in the world, we've been in the midst of heat waves, certainly in mainland Europe and
so
in Britain as well.
The fireproof layer as well, the overalls, the balaclava, the helmet, and then go and sit inside an oven, basically, for 35 minutes. That is what it's like inside one of these cars.
You've got the heat from the engine, you've got the heat as the sun beams through the glass of the window on the front. You know, this is all, you know, things you have to consider. There's Maxi Goertz, fresh after his stint at the very start of the race, and all smiles, and for good reason, because Christian Mansell is hot on the heels now of Pietro Armani, because, of course, while he was doing very well on his own, bringing the gap down, he's just been given an olive branch with the safety car now pulling all the cars together.
So this puts Armani and Mansell right next to each other for the restart. They've got a car, the Saber Walter BMW, between them and Zach Meakin. Then right behind him, the Pro-Am leader, Laurent de Meers, then Tom Empson, and then a flurry of the Pro-Am cars, Michael Blanchimont and Alex Schwarzer, and then the first of the Pro car, actually 2 cars between them as well, but Philippe Salacada in the 4th place Pro-Am car, ISR in a really great position here. They've also got 3 cars, 3 Pro cars, Moncini, Neubauer and Baumann, between himself and Carol Bash as well, the 5th place car, and then Charles Bateman and Yannick Mettler. This is the reason we're under safety car. Just getting onto the AstroTurf there did Ray Acosta. His first year of GT3 racing for the American, made his debut in Le Mans Cup. That's the Finale Mondiale winner of last year in Mugello, I think it was. They had the World Finals there. What have we got going on in AM? Galid Osman leading the way there for the Blau number 16 crew ahead of Joel Monegro. And Piotr Vera 3rd for the Goodspeed team at the moment. And then the championship contending Lewandowski car just behind that in 4th position there as well. 6-second time penalty coming in for the 777 for not serving the handicap correctly. So that's the 5th placed car in Pro-Am.
They were being investigated, so obviously that's the result of the investigation for Carol Bash, who had Marcin Jedinsky bring it in after his first stint behind the wheel of the car. The safety car still remains out on track right now. There is, again, Maxi Goertz, who I'm sure will be full of confidence in Christian Mansell, who has certainly proven to be very capable behind the wheel of a GT3. They celebrated an astonishing Spa 500 success earlier on this season. That's their sole win so far to date. And in fact, both Armani Fontana, as well as the motorpark car of Geertz and Mansell, both chasing their second wins of the season here and now. But nevertheless, I mean, we can't write off the idea of Zach Meakin and Dean McDonald, because now that they've been thrown into the mixer due to the safety car, they're also chasing their second win of the season.
What do we keep saying? That Budapest just throws up great finishes for us in this championship, doesn't it? And we have got, if you ignore Lawrence Meyers there, but you take the top 4 pro cars, those are our 4 race winners throughout this season. All of them hunting for a second win, a third for Elite at the back of that train. But anybody's pick between them at the moment, particularly that top 3.
If you're Tom Emson and you're Tom Leben, you're going to hope that potentially we do see another Max Paul affair where we witness.
If you have not seen it, go back and watch race 2 from 2023.
It was an absolutely astonishing race, I have to say, and obviously a landmark day for everyone in this championship, perhaps bar the Optimum McLaren, which Shamdahan was at the wheel of at that point in time.
Maybe Nicola Marinangeli as well. I don't think he was very happy about it.
It was, well, yes, maybe those two. But it was an astonishing moment, and one you almost should definitely go back and watch. And obviously we have had some wildcard success from the likes of the Pro-Am division, with obviously Team GT. I mentioned that earlier on with Alan Valente and Florian Scholz in 2022 in race 1. So, you know, these things do occur at Budapest. There seems to be something, there must be something in the water here at the Hungaroring circuit. And, you know, this season we're blessed with so many fantastic pro runners.
It's a great track as well.
Yeah,
we
underrated.
Do
we were discussing this actually on the way to the circuit coming from the airport, actually on Friday.
We do love this track, especially now that it's had a bit of a makeover. I'm not going to lie, before they built all these new complexes, it was like stepping back in time 30 years a little bit coming here. It had its charm, but now with all these renovations, beautiful new pit building, beautiful new grandstand. Yes, they were done last year, but now everything's finished. And we're in the nice new commentary box as well that wasn't finished last year either.
I will say this. I mean,
it's lovely.
There's the vibe in this particular commentary box is not too dissimilar from the modern ones we see at Red Bull Ring.
Yeah,
for example.
It's true. And now the ability to host this many fans as well, because we get so many coming through the door that have enjoyed the pit walk, the autograph sessions. We get so many through the door here. I know they don't get too much racing at this circuit, and Balaton Park's nicked a little bit as well for the bike racing now just up the road. But we do love coming here. We love the fact that the fans, look, you can see them piling over the fence there to get a glimpse at it. And I take a look as well at the stand just opposite the commentary box that's lined with fans down the start-finish straights as well. And when you saw in the pit walk earlier, you couldn't see the pit lane. It was just people.
Tom Emson is coming into the pits. So I just witnessed him toppling down the order. He's in the pits, everybody. That's Elite Racing Ferrari, your championship leaders, coming into the pits.
They're all the way down the far end of the pit lane, so it's the hardest one for us to spot as well. They're one of the last 2 or 3 garages. We're going to keep an eye on it and just see if they change one of those tyres, because potentially that car might have a puncture or some sort of mechanical issue.
It's on the jacks.
Well, they're not in any hurry to address it, are they? We can see it now on the picture. I think that car's going to be pushed into the garage.
It is.
Yes,
it is.
Double winners from Misano. The championship leaders are out of the race.
Tom Emson being wheeled back into the garage. A sorry end to what has been a difficult day at the office for the Elite Motorsport Ferrari team. Eddie Ives obviously knew they were going to come under scrutiny and a test here today, given the nature of the 22nd handicap, but apply the 5 added to the race time from earlier on. Their incident at the start of the race, jumping too early. Well, it looks like it's an end to a sorry day, and they're going to have to look to come back tomorrow in race 2. But a sickening sight for Elite, for Eddie Ives' team. And now we're left with the cars that remain. Armani, Mansell, Meek in your top 3. It now means we've got a string of 4 Pro-Am currently lined up with De Meus, currently leading Pro-Am, with Blanchimont, Schwarzer chasing yet another victory for the VAC Autotech team, which is absolutely possible here at this point now. Philippe Salakada also there in 7th, and then quite a gap then to Carol Bash and Galen Osman, of course, as you rightly say, leading out.
Yeah, keep an eye on those quick drivers in the Pro-Am cars. So Salakada, Bash, Metler, those are all the pro drivers aboard those cars. So they are going to be fighting their way through those bronze drivers who are leading the Pro-Am category at the moment. But at the head of the field, Armani versus Mansell.
This is going to be an unbelievable final 12 minutes, everybody. Armani getting pushed around the hairpin bend by Aussie Christian Mansell as they now cruise around the final bend. The Aussie Diamond is very keen to get going, as is Armani. Needs to try and pull the trigger at some point, and indeed speed starts to pick up, and we put pedal to the metal for the second time in this race now, and an overtake maybe yet impending. Here comes now Mansell, looks to the outside as they storm down through towards turn 1. Of course, shades of him and Goethe back in 2022 as he tries to switch back, coming out of turn 1, nothing doing. Cut across by Pietro Armani as they now look to descend down through towards turn 2 through turn 3. A little look up the inside there from Mansell, can't quite find the avenue. Turn 4 on the run-up then, the hill, which will then take them through to the very fast left-hander. Very busy getaway there for Carol Bash, right at the to battle with Dominic Baumann in front. Yannick Mettler on the move as well at the same time as they now come up over the crest through the fast left. Later turn 5, Mansell hovering all over the back of Armani. Just how much is that Porsche sweating right now?
And Zach Meakin was so heavily compromised because Armani went at the penultimate corner and the BMW didn't really go with him, and Meakin couldn't pass that car until he got to the start-finish line. So he lost about a second and a half on that restart there. Demeas going over the curbing there to try and get around the BMW there. He's got Michael Blanchimont on his tail, so it's absolutely neck and neck for the lead in Pro-Am as well. The quick drivers starting to make their way through.
Carol Bash trying to find a way through past Dominic Baumann at the moment. That is a battle over P10. And Bash actually looked at Bauman's number on the run out of the chicane. He had the better momentum coming through in towards turn 8. We're back though with our race leaders, and dare I say, Meakin quite happy to let these two go at it, because if something goes wrong for either of them, he can profit. Here comes Bash though, looking up the inside as they come towards the hairpin. We'll return back to our front runners. We'll see whether Bash has managed to get that one done. Wheel to wheel, are they coming through against Baumann? Can't quite see whether he's actually managed to pull that one off. Dare I say, I think Baumann's done just enough, or has he? Yes, no, Bash has got through. Carol Bash past Dominic Baumann, and next up on his list is Leonardo Moncini as he looks to certainly try and grasp a higher Pro-Am position. A late move here, trying to get past the back markers. The BMW 500 now being overtaken as well by the likes of Schwartz, Salakada also looking to get through. Armani still in front though, as Mansell remains in second.
Well, Meakin was a second quicker than Mansell on that previous lap. So despite having to go around the BMW, he's ended up hauling in that gap again. And so it is absolutely game on still for Greystone in this race. Porsche v Mercedes v McLaren, ZRS versus Motorpark versus Greystone. Armani, Mansell, Meakin for the win. 10 minutes to go.
Baumann has managed to get past Bash as well by the same token. Of course, remember, they do have to serve a penalty to Bash. They'll get given one at the end of the race, as owing to the pit lane infringement. As we now watch as Armani, Mansell and Meakin continue. This is a very intriguing battle between three very different manufacturers. Porsche, Mercedes, McLaren, all line astern at the moment, nose to tail, the gap thinner than a fly's eyelash as they head down through towards heavy braking zone. Demeas in the background, still leading Pro-Am, and I have to tell you, giving off a grand account as Salakada has managed to get Schwartzer. He's now third in Pro-Am.
Yep, so change for third there. That's going to unleash him a little bit. Schwartzer was probably going to be the toughest car for him to try and pass. So that's going to allow Salakada to now close up to the back of Michael Blanchimont and Laurent Demeas. ISR in a very good position here to take their second ever victory in the International GT Open. Galen Osman still holding on to the lead in the AM category.
Oh, no.
Meanwhile, but dramas for the third place car in AM. Piotr Vera round in the good speed Aston Martin.
Yeah, down. Whether he's out, we're not sure. Schwartzer's gone as well. Schwartzer is down. Oh my goodness, that's a VAC Autotech. It's in the pits. It's in the pits.
Are we going to see why? Oh no, this is what happened to Piotr Vera, round at turn 12, getting into the gravel. But is this going to be dramas for not only our overall championship leaders, but our Pro-Am championship leader, who is now in the pit lane as well?
Yeah, doesn't look good for FAC Auto Tech either. They've stopped the car and they're having a look at it right now. There is a tyre change going on the rear left.
So a puncture potentially then for that car. Goodness me, you could not make it up, could you? Overall and Pro-Am Championship leaders in strife here today in Budapest.
He's left the garage. They're not retiring the car, but one would seemingly wonder why bother at this point, continuously going around the track with 7 minutes and 40 to go.
Obviously, Mansell was very sideways through 6 and 7, bouncing over the curbs there, and the McLaren seems to be handling it a little bit better.
My goodness, a little bit of contact there. Obviously, they were trying to avoid Stanislav Jedlinski, who actually cuts the chicane, but so close to a big accident there coming into the chicane at turn 6 and 7.
So the cars making their way through 8, 9 and 10 there. We've got the 63 Lamborghini Moncini up to 8th position now, ahead of Karol Basch and Dominik Baumann. So SVC are going to at least crawl away with some points here today. Thomas Neubauer just in front of them as well in the 96 in 7th position. They're closing down the leading trio in the Pro-Am category as well, but they are squabbling so much amongst themselves.
Somehow as well, Laurent de Meus, I mentioned it earlier on, he's holding that second gap against him and Blanchimont now. Here's Karol Basch, obviously being pursued by Baumann. Of course, in behind him, Tommaso Mosca, who's already got a penalty under his nose. Well, now he's wheel to wheel with Baumann in the Ferrari 296. And certainly, penalties aside, very keen to dish the dirt here on Baumann as they look to go wheel to wheel on the run down through towards turn 1. The Tiger line on offer here for the Italian driver. Mosca pounces up the inside and past Dominik Baumann and moves up a place indeed. P10.
Oh, contact between second and third.
Jim Pla, oh, not Jim Pla, I do apologise, but nevertheless, the Santilok already very close to making contact with Thomas Neubauer as they head downhill and coast through out of turn 4. Drama here in the closing stages. 6 minutes to go, and de Meus has been handed an even wider lifeline.
So this is Salicata trying to get around Michael Blanchimont. The two Audis connect, braking under turn 2. Salicata's going to go through. Will he cop a penalty for that one, though? Blanchimont just managed to survive. He's going to be limping home, though. Salicata now only 1.3 behind Laurent de Meus. Will he take a penalty? Will there finally be some luck for the Belgian driver as Karol Basch gets an excellent run through the chicane and usurps the Lamborghini there into 8th position?
Yeah, brilliant move there from Karol Basch. Need we expect anything less from this talented Polish driver? Absolutely sensational. Former Pro-Am champion as well in the International GT Open alongside Marcin Jedlinski. And next up, Thomas Neubauer is on his list. The two Ferraris are going to duke it out. And Blanchimont, of course, as expected, in free fall, heading down the timing screen. As now we see, I think, Tommaso Mosca on the move as well. Gets past Moncini, and he'll move up to 8th place as well. But remember, does have that time penalty that will be applied at the end of the race. There's Yannick Mettler as well. They're going to close up to the back of Charles Bateman over that P12 at the same time. Still, Armani leads the race, though. Mansell still remains 8.5 tenths away. The top 3 nigh on 8.5 to 9.5 tenths between them. It is so tight over this race win, and we've only got 4 minutes and 40 or so to go as Mosca has a little look there on Basch. In comes now Michael Blanchimont being tackled by Charles Bateman. Up the inside goes Bateman. Mettler's going to follow him through, and it looks like disaster here for Santilok as they fall afoul as Basch comes under increasing pressure from Mosca in behind.
Oh, that debris on the inside of turn 2 that Mettler's just gone over, so he's gone up the inside of Blanchimont for 4th, and now looking at the back of Bateman for a spot on the Pro-Am podium as well for the Carbon crew.
Salicata's gone past de Meus.
Oh, no, sorry, it'd be for 4th in that category, but yet Salicata has taken the lead in Pro-Am now ahead of Laurent de Meus, but that incident between himself and the Santilok car is under investigation. If he takes a penalty, that could still hand the win to AF Corsa.
It could well do. Anything's possible here in this late stage. We're inside the final 4 minutes, and you can just tell that along with the heat that it is being plettered in from the sky, that it's starting to rise in the temperaments of these drivers who are chasing opportunity, chasing points. Anything can make a difference in your championship fight, and indeed Armani, Mansell and Meakin chasing their second wins respectively at the top of the shop. Salicata and Libor Milotta looking for an incredible win here at Hungaroring, which would be their first of the season here. Laurent de Meus also chasing his first win. Oh, and that's Moncini. Moncini going off into the gravel, and now Bateman will have to look to get past him as well. Can't afford to be held up with Mettler in behind.
Baumann making a move there on Moncini. That was for 9th position. So the second Motorpark car making its way through and demoting the Lamborghini. But if he composes himself, should be able to keep Bateman at bay. He's just on the lower fringes of the top 10 now. The SVC squad be lucky to come away with 1 point. Armani's looking very, very composed now at the head of the field, but these three got to be so careful making their way through turn 2. It'd be so easy to pick up a puncture through all that debris.
Well, they've broken away from Meakin as well. Meakin, who was, in fact, 9/10 away from Mansell, it's now gone out to 1.3, so Mansell turning the screw still remains 0.7 away. That gap, in fact, between Armani and Mansell has come down by a couple of tenths since we last checked, because, of course, he was around about 9/10, 8/10 before. He's starting to break into it ever so slightly, so maybe this is the time now for the Aussie to try and dial in, to hunt down this rapid Italian, Pietro Armani, who's really come to the fore in GT racing in recent years after experiencing Porsche Cup Challenge races, as well at the same time his time in single-seaters. Both of these young talents, these young hopefuls, who may have had their hearts set on single-seater racing before, have found a new passion in GT sports car racing and looking to unfurl it all here at Hungaroring. This has been an absolutely tremendous race, and definitely we have got more to come in the final 2 minutes that are still left to, well, certainly behold us all. But nevertheless, what a performance here from ZRS so far.
Are we going to get the last lap board this time around? Yes, we are. 1 minute 40 left on the clock. So it'll be one more lap to go as they come across the stripe. And Pietro Armani has a very healthy margin here over Christian Mansell. Still, the gap remains at 0.8 of a second, and then 0.9 of a second back to Zach Meakin. It's looking very good for a second victory here for Armani and Fontana.
And they've had to wait a little bit for it. Of course, the very first race of the season was where they garnered their first win in the International GT Open. It was a first race in the GT Open for ZRS as a whole, and it was a winning start. But now, looking to return to glory once again, but they first have to try and manoeuvre their way through the course of this tight and twisty circuit. Monaco without walls, and they're going to hope that that is the case, with Mansell still remaining 8.5 tenths in behind them. What a magnificent display from this Porsche unit, this little engine that could, as far as the team goes anyway, but the Porsche brand supported them all the way, and Armani showing that he is certainly a talent not to be trifled with.
Alex Fontana looks very concerned, didn't he, when the safety car came out? We saw him conversing with Nicolo Zambon inside the garage, but he needn't have worried because Pietro Armani has handled this one beautifully, just rounding up the Stanislav Jedlinski car in front of him. No dramas there, and it's only a few corners to go now for Pietro Armani, the youngster, his first year in GT3 racing, ZRS Motorsports' first year in the category as well, and they are going to be multiple race winners in a few moments' time.
Yeah, like we said before, race winners on the opening weekend in the opening race. They last achieved a podium in our last race at Misano, but they've had to wait a little longer to taste P1 success. Well, wait no more, because it's Andiamo, Pietro Armani, victory for ZRS at Hungaroring here in the International GT Open. Christian Mansell in second, Zach Meakin across the line completes the podium.
And it's a 10-second time penalty for Philippe Salicada, so Laurent Demeas is going to take the Pro-Am victory for the first time in the GT Open. Yes, 4.6 over the line. AF Corsa have done it, and the Belgian driver takes his first victory in the category.
Laurent Demeas, a long, lengthy servant in this series over a number of years, alongside Vincent Abril, his reliable and really astonishing tutor to him as far as the International GT Open goes. This is why the penalty was dished out. Contact between Philippe Salicada and Michael Blanchimont on the run down through towards turn 3.
Because that's cost Santalok a podium, basically, hasn't it? That incident, you could argue. They ended up way down the order in the end. Yes, 6th in class. And so it's still second for ISR, joined on the podium by Yannick Mettler in the Carbon car. So he must have had inherited that from Carol Bash's 5-second penalty as well. So remarkable stuff, and it's victory in the AM category for Galid Osman and Marcello Hahn and the AF Corsa crew. So double victory for Amato Ferrari's squad.
Yeah, Martin Ferrari's going to be absolutely delighted with that. Of course, the Ferrari badge will burn bright indeed as far as Pro-Am and AM success is concerned. And that is absolutely sensational. But credit has to go to ZRS Porsche here today. They now join Elite Racing Ferrari this season with 2 wins. in this year's campaign. Let's take you through the final classification. What a race, again, here at Hungaroring. Never disappoints. It is Pietro Armani, Alex Fontana, a brilliant drive from both drivers concerned, ahead of Christian Mansell and Maxi Goertz, who did a grandiose job, those two, in terms of manufacturing this second place. They'll be back tomorrow. Zach Meek and Dean McDonald, they'll be happy with yet another podium in third. Lauren De Meijers and Vansel Abril, everyone will smile at this one. Pro-Am winners in fourth overall. Jaroslav Vasalo and Thomas Neubauer in fifth place, ahead of Ramirez and Baumann in sixth. Salicado Milotta in seventh, still retain the podium, with Moncini and Testa in eighth, ahead of Duran and Mosca in ninth. Muller and Mettler in P10, ahead of Jedlinski and Bash. Bateman and Pavels in 12th. Then it's Hahn and Osman, your winners in the Ferrari for AF Corsa. Blanchimont and Pla down in 14th, ahead of Joel Monegro. Reyes, who returns to the podium again in second. Kell, the two Kells in 16th, and then Adrian Lewandowski in 17th, Darmetko and Dibionka, with Alexander Schwarzer and Vak, as well as Sewin Mazur further back. Then we have Vera Magjash as well, of course, followed then by Piotr Vera, Jaba Walter, Fredo Hernandez, Stanislav Jedlinski, Tom Emson, of course, retiring from the race. But Pietro Armani celebrating with the rest of his team. As I said, this is only a very small team, this ZRS crew, and very much a family affair, with brother and sister running it together, and Pietro Armani helping them on their way, and with the experience of Alex Fontana behind you as well, it makes such a big difference, Chris.
It certainly does. So much knowledge inside that head of Alex Fontana, and yeah, happy days for Pietro Armani there. I'm sure Christian Mansell will think the win was very much on there, but just didn't quite have enough to be able to usurp him. But still a very strong result there to get their championship challenge back on track. And of course, with Tom Leben and Tom Emson not scoring points in this race, it means that all three of these guys managed to close up after what was a dominant weekend for that crew in Misano. And so the smiles and the photos to be taken inside of Parc Ferme, it's going to close up an awful lot in the championship. I'm sure we'll get the scores shortly after the highlights. It's, photographers high and low for them to pose for.
Well, this is something they're going to celebrate, and mightily. Obviously, Alfredo Filipponi going across to them. There will be an interview very soon, folks. We'll take you through the top three. So Sam Meakin and Dean McDonald back on the podium once again, still in right form, a Greystone GT, and they will be back tomorrow for more. Elsewhere, Christian Mansell as well as Maxi Goertz. What a drive. They try to hunt down Pietro Armani right at the bitter end, but both Fontana was just simply too good in the first stint, as was Armani himself. A tremendous drive for the small ZRS outfit, and they're now by Alfredo Filipponi for an interview.
And so, under the Hungarian sun, Alex Fontana, Pietro Armani, winners, second time this year. So you must be happy, Alex.
Yeah, very happy. After Portimao, we had a few rounds. I mean, I missed Spa, but the team had a technical issue there. Misano was okay, but not special. And I think here was nice to go back in the top step of the podium. The race was clean. At the start, there was a bit of a confusing situation with the second car that was misplaced, but I could take advantage of that, passing the guy in front. And then Pietro did an awesome job with the safety car at the end. Pietro is not doing so many races this year, so to manage those kind of situations, he did it with a lot of maturity, a lot of good speed, so I'm really happy about that.
Yeah, the hard work was for Pietro this time. Keeping everybody behind after a safety car, it's always difficult.
Yeah, it has been a really difficult race for me, especially in the start, in the start of the safety car, because there was a lot of marbles everywhere, shit. So you know, after the restart, I had the tires very, very dirty. So, but yeah, we managed to do a great race. So at the end, yeah, good result. Thanks to Alex, thanks to the team, my family, my sponsor. So yeah, that's to be happy.
Well done, guys. Time to enjoy the victory, and you're back on the race for the championship. So all good news. Bravi.
Well, let's take you through the highlights of what was a blistering race. It was a jump start, though, for elite Ferrari. Unfortunately, getting handed a 5-second after jumping too soon. Alexander Faklo having very much the opposing end of this, toppling down down through the order, allowing the likes of Maxi Gertz to drive on through, as did Alex Fontana in the initial to jump into second place. A few other drivers also being caught a fray further down the order as well. We saw, unfortunately, for Darmetko and Di Bianca, they were given a penalty after the collision with Serwin Mazur at the chicane section at turns 6 and 7. We then rode on board once again with the FAC Auto Tech, this time with Jean Monegro Reyes, who were observing Rodrigo Testa coming under fire in front of their windscreen. The driver change period then opened up, and it was the turn of Pietro Armani to take the wheel. Further back, of course, we saw Christian Mansell determined to make his way through the field, making overtakes on the likes of Laurent de Meus, who was in the fight over the Pro-Am Championship battle. Then we had Dean McDonald swiftly moving his way through inside the top 3, along with Zach Meakin, who was looking to end their stint in great style. We then lost, of course, a car further back in the AM class, the 107, unfortunately coming to an unsumptuous end with Ray Acosta dipping into the gravel and could not get himself out of it. The championship leaders, though, coming into the weekend, Elite Racing had to retire owing to a problem with their car. We then later saw ISR Audi. They were handed a penalty for this incident with Santaloc Racing. Michael Blanchimont at the wheel of the car, the victim in this instance, but the win going the way for the second time this season of Pietro Armani and Alex Fontana, ZRS, back on the top step. And this is how the championship now looks. And no doubt it's going to be spicy. Of course, while Elite led the way coming in, they still do, but 4 points is now the gap between Christian Mansell, Maxi Gertz and Tom Empson, Tom Leben in first and second. Dean McDonald, Zach Meakin after their P3 this time, 13 points away off the top. Fontana and Armani now 18 points off the top. So it's an 18-point spread between Ps 1 and Ps 4 in the championship, Chris.
Pretty tight stuff. And a lot to look forward to. We're not even halfway through the season, George. That comes after tomorrow's race. But
yeah,
mighty stuff as we go to the podium then. And a 5th appearance on the rostrum for Greystone. They have been on the podium in every race bar one, and that was at the Spa 500. So they've been incredibly consistent, has that 33 crew. Very important for Maxi Gertz and Christian Mansell to get back on the podium for the first time since their win at the Spa 500, but victory for the second time and already into the national anthem.
Well, the national anthem of Italy rings through. Ever passionate fans, of course, love their motorsport from Italy, and indeed Armani giving them another reason to celebrate, as well as ZRS Motorsport. Dean McDonald, Zach Meakin given the 3rd place trophies. We did see as well Christian Mansell gesturing, of course, a very strong family support in the Mansell family, with Megan Mansell, his mother, coming in, and always a beacon of support ever since his time in karts and coming through Euro Formula, for example, and now here in the GT Open.
Winners' trophies being handed out. I make that a 5th victory for Alex Fontana, including his various class wins as well for his army of academy drivers. And Jesus Pereira, the CEO of the GT Sport organization, handing over the winners' trophy to Nicolo Zambon, the team boss over at ZRS Motorsport. A fabulous job done by that Italian squad. And I'll pose for the photographs as well.
Championship is getting spicier by the minute.
Isn't it just?
With 18 points separating the top 4 in the championship going into tomorrow, it does paint quite a pretty picture, I have to say. So I look forward to seeing what qualifying is going to do tomorrow. The champagne being sprayed, and no fear for ZRS. Motor Park, they're quite happy to get the overalls a bit sticky.
Well, we have some investigations to do, don't we? I don't mean Stuart's investigations. I mean you and me, George. We've got to go and find out what went wrong with Elite Motorsport first and foremost, and confirm what happened to Alexander Schwarzer as well. Both of our 2 championship leading cars getting dramas. Seemingly a puncture for that car as well. But a lot for us to digest over for the rest of the day, and for us to go and find answers to bring you tomorrow morning when we go for qualifying, and indeed for another race on Sunday afternoon. 60 minutes of racing still to come.
Well, we got to celebrate this moment, though, because Laurent de Meus, who has been in this championship for such a long time, celebrating a victory here in the International GT Open.
So many years with Jamie Stanley, and now with Vincent Abril as well.
A little bit with Fuminelli at the same time, with Vincent Abril also by his side. Dexter Muller, Yannick Mettler, ever the smiling faces there for those two. You do have to imagine that despite the celebrations from the Czechia fan base.
Well, was it after 3 consecutive non-scores for the Carbahn crew, finally back on the podium, so that's great news for them. And yeah, the penalty costing Philippe Salicata and Libor Milota in the end, but as close to a home race as they're going to get here in Budapest, and coming away with second. But finally a bit of luck for Laurent de Meus. I thought his luck had run out once again when the safety car came out. The puncture at Spa, and very badly timed safety car in Misano for the team. And wonderful to see Vincent Abril back on the top step of a podium as well. But Laurent de Meus, for the first time in the GT Open, taking victory.
You get your moment, Laurent. That is absolutely fantastic. It's been hard-earned, this particular one, for AF Corsa, and the cheers erupting.
How many years in the making? Who's been doing this for 5-6 years now, has Laurent de Meus?
Quite some time. I know he's been here ever since, I believe, 2021, I think, might have been.
I think 2022. I think in 21 he was still in Ferrari Challenge. He might have made a wild card appearance or something.
Yeah.
But he's soaking up the moment there, isn't he? The man from Brussels.
Yeah, an incredible moment for Laurent de Meus, an emotional one. And indeed, a lot of work's been put into this, and learning, every step of the way. And Vincent Abril, a key component in that as well. Obviously, these two make a fantastic team. And ISR Audi, I've got to give them credit. Had it not been for that incident, they would have been the ones likely stood on the top step of the podium. Just given the pace that they put on display, they managed to make the overtake for on-track P1, but unfortunately, given the time penalty and the nature of the incident between themselves and Michael Blanchimont, as well as Jim Plas, Santaloc Audi, unfortunately, a penalty could only be instilled against them. Therefore, they forfeit the lead and indeed take second, but they'll take that. And tomorrow's another day as well. It's very important to note. So you never know what can happen, especially here at Hungaroring.
So in the AM category, it's our top 3 in the championship who finish inside the top 3.
Which yet does not really provide a solution to who is likely going to win, because it's Gaylord Osman and Marcello Hahn, who are 3rd in the championship. They've now managed to close the gap, essentially, albeit by a little bit, by 2 points, essentially.
Great to see Alex and Alex from the sister number 11 crew, despite their disappointments, applauding Jean Monegro's second place finish there. But Marcello Hahn on the top step of the podium once again for the 2nd time this season. But I think that's his 11th class victory in this championship, George. He's got quite the record here.
If I'm not mistaken, that means it's now 6 points between Monegro Reyes and Gaylord Osman, Marcello Hahn. 46 for the Brazilian pairing now after achieving the 10. Obviously 8 points go in the way of Reyes in this one, so that puts him on 52. So yeah, approximately 6 points between them.
That makes sense. So mighty stuff.
So what a dramatic day, and more to come, folks. Do join us tomorrow morning for qualifying for race 2 tomorrow morning. We'll see you then. Goodbye.